morning, Kevin. My team, myself, Amanda, Elijah, and Jack, were very impressed with how your company in Ontario and Quebec has achieved such excellence already. And we want to do the same in Alberta, okay? Now, it's because of companies like yours is that we have bridges to go under and over railroad tracks, that we have those same bridges to go over bodies of water, that we have the buildings that we call our institutions, our workplaces, our stadiums, our museums, and companies like yours that we call our homes, that you build our homes. Now, we want to do the same in Alberta, as I said, and we want Alberta to have the same connectivity, technology, prosperity as your locations in Ontario and Quebec. I know here we want to make something of those locations in Fort McMurray. Okay, on to Jack.
Sure. Thank you, Amanda. All right, now moving into our presentation, we're going to start off with our executive summary. First off, our problem identification. This is less of a problem, but more of a question of opportunity. We're going to get into it a little bit later, but it involves looking through a series of options involving the opportunity of expanding into Alberta. From there, we will go through a decision matrix and give you our recommendation to the best option for that expansion. We will then follow up with some more analysis, both qualitative and quantitative, to show some of the financial impacts, as well as more broad impacts upon your company. We will give you an implementation plan that will give you a solid timeline of how long this expansion will take, roughly should be done within the year, and how we can bring that all together for the end, and then we'll come together for some conclusions, maybe go through our appendices, and any questions you may have. So now, going forward, we took a look at where your company is right now through use of a SWOT analysis. Starting with your strengths, you are strong in both Ontario and Quebec markets. You have very strong market dominance there. Komatsu is your main supplier for their products, and they're very popular in Ontario and Quebec. However, this also may be a weakness in that you heavily rely on Komatsu as your primary supplier. Certain companies, such as your competitors, often have diverse product suppliers, allowing them to perhaps market to various different niche markets a little bit more better than your company, in that you're specializing in only Komatsu products. Also, a weakness is the weaker Alberta foothold. Your competitors are established in Alberta currently, so getting in there will involve a very solid expansion process, perhaps looking to expand into niche markets such as wood buffalo and areas where your competitors might not be as strong. Some opportunities. This is where the expansion process really comes into play. Growth. We want to see your company go into Alberta. We believe this is a strong market, even though the current market state with oil is down. We believe you can get in there while the prices are low and build up from there. You can, again, as mentioned previously in our weakness slide, a niche market such as wood buffalo is an optimal place to expand to starting off and build from there, as your competitors are not as established in such markets. Now here's where the threats come into play. The oil market. The oil markets right now are low. Our dollar is at 69 cents about, hovering around 70 cents to the American dollar. It's not a good time to spend a lot of money right now. People are very tight. However, if you can find a way to take advantage of this and really move your expansion into Alberta right away, we believe this can create higher profits for you in the future. You must also be aware of your competitors, as your competitors are highly established in Alberta and may pose a threat to this expansion, as they have already established their brands and established supply connections with many other suppliers. So, our problem identification, or in this case, a question of opportunity. The Alberta market. Do we take this opportunity? Do we expand into Alberta? And if so, how? What are our options? What are our ways that we can move your firm into Alberta? What are our ways that we can create a market there and earn your firm more profits, more market power, and in turn, expanding into Alberta, satisfying your primary supplier, Komatsu, who is also interested in moving into that market. Now, we've identified three options here, as you can see. Option one is the expansion of the rental storage. Now, this would be primarily credit financing from Komatsu, and this would be also a very good way to strengthen the supplier relationship. And what that means is, because we'll be working very closely with Komatsu, and they'll be funding the majority of your expansion, they'll likely also have the majority of control in this expansion, giving them definitely satisfying their needs for expanding into Alberta, but perhaps giving you a little bit less control over that process. Now, option 2 is one of the more options that we're kind of leaning towards, which is the building of Komatsu stores. Now, these stores will sell Komatsu products, but will be funded primarily by equity on your side, as well as some credit financing from Komatsu. This will allow you to have more control over these, over your stores in that area, allow you to diversify your product line, as well as continue to have products, Komatsu products in Alberta, satisfying the supplier relationship you have with Komatsu. It also is an opportunity to strengthen your brand in Alberta. As mentioned, you can diversify your product line, reaching out to other suppliers, allowing you to have a store that sells not only Komatsu, but other brands as well, further strengthening relationships, and again, it's always a good thing. Now, option 3 is going to be selling of the Komatsu stores. Typo there, apologies. Selling of your stores in Alberta and moving out of that market. Now, if you sell your rental storage, you'll be ceasing the market to Redwood Limited, who is a competitor in the area. However, it will give you immediate revenues that you can then reinvest in Ontario and Quebec for further expansion and development in those markets where you are very strong. So that is an option as well. I'll pass it on to Amanda now to discuss decision criteria and matrix.
Thank you. Now, we did a decision criteria to give you a better visual of how we made our decision. So our 3 main criteria were risks, competitors, and the markets. So, as Jack just discussed, the first option, which was to expand the retail storage and as well to invest in the oil industry. So for risk, we put that as a low, like a thumbs down, because as he just mentioned, oil is really bad right now, and as well as our Canadian dollar is really bad right now. So that wouldn't be a smart idea to go into right now. For competition, I'll give it a thumbs up because essentially your products, your business, as far as we know, there is no other industry that does the same thing, that rents out these Komatsu equipment. So in that case, we gave it a thumbs up. For markets, we gave it a thumbs down. Kind of the same thing as the risks. Oil is bad, dollar is bad. It's just not a smart idea to go into that right now. And so that gave a total of 1. And now for option 2, risk, thumbs up again, because you already established yourself in this market. You know what you're doing. You're experts at what you do, and that's great. And you have a less risk there. And for competition, you give a thumbs up again, kind of the same thing as option 1. Sorry. The competition, as I said, as far as our understanding, there isn't much of the same competitors as you do. And then for markets, another thumbs up. Because, I'm so sorry. Jack, would you like to continue?
Of course, sure.
Thank you.
So now, markets are a thumbs up here because, furthering back to my previous points, you'll be able to expand your product line here. You'll be able to market various products to various different customers. Specifically, the wood buffalo market as a niche market area, where there aren't many competitors yet, is a perfect entry point. Again, having that Komatsu store that allows you to sell the Komatsu products, appeasing Komatsu's needs for expansion into Alberta, apologies, and diversify your product line to market into niche markets as well. Now, the exiting into Alberta stores is the lowest of risk, which is why it gets a positive rating in our spectrum here, as you'll be exiting the Alberta market. You won't have to deal with the low price of oil, dollar there. You'll be able to stick with your strong markets of Ontario and Quebec, earning you some immediate revenues to reinvest in those markets and further control them very dominantly. Your competition is also giving a thumbs up here because you won't have to deal with the competition in Alberta. You can leave the Alberta market to the Redwood Limited firm and continue to dominate the markets in Ontario and Quebec. Again, similar to the risk. And gain those revenues, you can reinvest, you can continue to control those 2 markets. However, your market share isn't going to increase here. You'll be able to maintain or perhaps grow Ontario and Quebec, but that expansion into Alberta will be lost. That may disrupt some supplier relationships with Komatsu, and it also is a lost opportunity, and if you won't be able to expand in the Alberta market, you may have to wait a few years before you can do that, and the market's changed. Competitors can become more dominant, making it further and further more difficult to do it in the future. Now, our recommendation to you today is to go with option 2, to build the Komatsu stores and expand into the Alberta market. With this recommendation, you'll be able to, again, have a diverse product line, expand your market share, further generating profit, and also further maintaining that supplier relationship with Komatsu, who also wishes to expand into that area. I'm going to pass it on to Balaji now to discuss some of our financials.
Thank you. Okay, so before going in detail into the financial analysis we did for the 3 different options that we have, you have presented us with today, we noticed there were some discrepancies with your financial statements that you have provided us with. For instance, the balance sheet that you have given to us for the previous years, we noticed that there has been an unbalance of about 20% estimation, and that has been increasing each year. So basically, just for auditing purposes, going forward in the future, we urge you to actually focus on this kinds of discrepancies so we can fix it. The case you presented us with, you're looking to diversify your products. If we take a look at the 3 top providers, or your 3 top competitors right now in Alberta, Fort McMurray, you will notice that they have diversified products that they sell to, buy from different manufacturers. So, and these manufacturers provide them with credit that they can use to expand, right, build different stores. So the reason I'm mentioning this is we asked you to go with option number 2, which is for you to build your own stores, so you will be able to have diversified products, and you will be able to get a better market share rather than just relying mainly on Komatsu. So if they see these kinds of discrepancies with your balance sheet or financial statements, they may not be encouraged to go ahead and give you this credit that they want to, if they want to partner with you, basically. So that's one of the reasons why we urge you to actually take a look at the financial statements, see these discrepancies, and then if we can try and fix them for you going forward. But looking at the options we have here, we did different financial analysis. The first one we did was the net present value. You will find that in your appendix appendix 1 and appendix number 2. That should be at the back. So basically, what we did was we looked at the cash inflow and the cash outflow that you will be using for 2 different options, options number 1 and options number 2. Options number 2 being the one we recommend, that you should go ahead and build your own firms while still getting credit, 70% credit from Komatsu, but you will have your own different other firms and you can get different manufacturers. And then the other option we have you with, which will be in your appendix number 1, is where you just rent out a store specifically for Komatsu manufacturer, right? So basically, still in this case, you will find that you actually do have a present value increase from year 2015 to year 2018. So that's what we deducted, the cash flow, inflow and outflow. So you have an increase in your present value of about 4 million. But the gist of the matter here is, would you rather have a 20 million loss, than having a $25 million increase? Because if you look at the option 2 that we're presenting you with, basically you will be getting over $25 million profit in the year 2018 if you actually go ahead and build your different, build these different markets. The reason why we have these vast differences in the prices is because for the first option that we have here, you are just looking to purchase 1 store. And for the second option, you're looking to build 5 stores in just year 2015. Right? So basically, that gave us a vast difference from the expenses, the initial cost outlay that you will be having, rather than the former option. So what we have here shows that you should go ahead and then invest with the option number 2. So go ahead, you will be getting 70% of the financing from Komatsu, and then the remaining of the financing, you will be able to fund that with the net profit that you have with your current market, the 2 markets in Alberta. So basically, For the option number 2 that we are asking you to go with, you will still keep your 2 markets in Alberta right now, while still expanding, building these new markets through the funding of Komatsu. So basically, we just added the present net income for the markets that you currently have, the existing markets, and then we also did an estimate of the profit, which you provided us with for the year 2015 to year 2019, I believe. So we looked at those 2 joint ventures together, and also you will see in the appendix number 2 that with in the cash flow statements and projections, we have the estimated revenue to be gotten from diversification. So basically, we just took a look at your current competitors right now, the 3 top distributors in the market. We took a look at their revenues that they're getting, about 72% from this other, from diversifying their products, really. They're getting supplies from JC and from Caterpillar. So we just took an estimate of about 20% of their own market share, which is the entire, and we used that to come up with the estimated revenue from diversification. So basically, in essence, you will be getting a huge amount of profit going forward if you go with the option number 2 that we provided you with. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay. What we have here now is a sensitivity analysis. Basically, right now, we know the fears that you have of going into the markets in Alberta. So right now, the oil prices are down to, like we said, less than 60 cents, right? But we took a look at the prices that you have graciously provided us with. So we estimated, using the current prices you have right now, which is about $24.05 per barrel of oil. That was what we used to get the previous statements over here for the option 1 and 2. And then the reason we're asking you to still stay in the market, still, have this 2 stores in Alberta while still expanding, getting funding from Komatsu, is because, like one of the experts said, the oil market has ups and downs. You may still definitely see huge projections, increase in profit in the future. So what we did was also we used the estimated price that we have there of about $34, which was the previous price per barrel of oil, and we used that to also come up with the estimated cash inflow and cash outflow statements, basically, to come up with how much revenue you will be getting in the year 2018. So what we found out was you will actually still be gaining a certain amount of profit in the year 2018 if you do go ahead and stay in the Alberta market, the option number 2 which we gave you with, and also if you still expand with this different build your own stores of line where you're not only depending on Komatsu, but you're getting different manufacturers. You're getting supplies from them. You're still getting them to fund part of the cost, part of the expenses. So you're not the only one bearing all the expenses that will be coming in from this venture. And I will pass it on to Amanda to talk about the implementation plan.
Thank you. So step 1, we have funding. So like Balaji had said, we have Komatsu willing to do a credit plan with you, and which we'll look forward to doing that. So we'll set up a meeting with you, and maybe some lawyers of yours to get that deal into writing. And we gave that about a 2-month estimate timeline, just in case there's other finance we need to look at or something like that. Task 2 will be market research. As you had said, there might be other locations that could need more looking at, and which we will kindly do. Task 3 will be building. Like you said, it might take a while, and which we gave it, roughly 10-month period, but that's okay. And then task 4, hiring. Right now, you don't have any major supervisor in the Alberta locations, and we need to change that. As well, we need to hire 15 more people to run those new locations. And for risks, what if this location isn't profitable? Well, then we'll just exit and we'll seek a new location. What if there's a delay in construction? Then that might be an advantage to us in Alberta if there is an oil price rise. Now with the Jack.
Alrighty, so as you can see, we've talked about these elements here on our executive summary. I'd like to thank you for our time today, and we'll be happy to hear any questions you may have. We go JDH Consulting.
Thank you. This concludes the presentation portion. We will now go on to the 5-minute question and answer period.
Great. If you don't mind, I'm going to start off. Thank you very much for your presentation today. The one question I want to know, and you're very right in saying Komatsu's, our relationship there is very important. So one of the options they really wanted us to look at was buying an existing business. And I see that wasn't one of the options. So I'm assuming there was a reason you guys decided and looked at that and said, we don't need to look at that. And I'm just wondering, why did you decide that that wasn't something we should be looking at?
Well, in going into a market with a fresh outlook, with a fresh business, you can rebrand that distributor outlook there with your own brand. And like we mentioned before, you can bring in new product lines other than Komatsu to further offer new products to your customers. In this sense, you'll have your own brand there without existing good or bad will from the previous business. We hope goodwill if you were to acquire a previous business, but you're starting fresh, essentially. And that's kind of what we really want to have for your companies, have its own unique brand there, offering both Komatsu and other products alike.
Within the 2-year, well, I guess it's 15 months or so that you prescribed to get your new stores running, do you think that there is adequate market opportunity to keep 2 more stores or 3 more stores, and however many it was, busy and create positive bottom line in more stores in that marketplace?
In the Alberta marketplace, we believe there is a positive market there. Specifically, as mentioned with the niche industry of wood buffalo, niche industries in Alberta, we found, specific to that example, aren't as covered by the competitors there. If you were to enter in a niche industry and then expand upon that market, you could then build customer loyalty and then further expand into markets once you're established. But establishing yourself in a niche industry such as wood buffalo would be a starting point, and then as you develop more brand loyalty, develop a customer base, you can start expanding into more competitive markets and taking a further market share from there.
I just have a question on the numbers. So I think you said by 2018 we made 24 to 25 million per store for 2 stores? Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
So then I guess as a business owner, why wouldn't I just want to do all 15 and make that much money of existing stores that are already there and profitable? What would be my key differentiating factor between 2 versus 15?
For the year 2015, you're just starting with 5 stores. And then as you go along to the year 2018, that's when you will, we expect you to expand and build on more stores. And then we expect you to have approximately about 15 stores in the year 2018. Including
building.
That you have. What we actually did was we factored in the costs of each of the stores and the annual investment, which is leasing of the machines and buying of the machines, and then the store buying up the stores. So we factored those in with the credit that Komatsu will be willing to provide you with, which is generous to 70% that they will be funding you with. And then we believe the rest of the amount to fund the purchase and the setting up of the stores. You do have the capability to do so with your current net income, just with the 2 stores, but even going forward. Like in the year 2015, you have 5 stores. You will have enough net income to fund getting about the 15 stores ready. If Komatsu is willing to provide you with a 70% credit going forward, which they are.
Can you just talk about, from a talent human resource perspective, if you think the company overall has the bandwidth and management expertise to go with 5 stores initially?
Right. What we factored into the cost was that you will hire more employees. We estimate you will hire about 10 employees to start with, which cost us about, I believe, 80,000, I believe, per year. So right now, you're experienced in this market. You have partners with Komatsu, which is basically the 3rd manufacturer in the 3rd biggest, largest manufacturer, basically, of this of this construction equipment. So they are willing to also support you. So it's not just you taking on this challenge. With their support and your support and this new employees that you're willing to hire, we believe that you will be able to sustain this project going forward.